I think if we take a look at a map of Minnesota that we brought with, we take a look at where some of the counties that have been the regional centers. The counties that are in blue are counties that were getting more sales than what we'd anticipate. But you can see that, let's say, around Rochester and Olmsted County, which is a blue county down in the bottom, see red counties all around them. Those are counties that basically the people are leaving their counties there and heading into Rochester to shop. So we were seeing this consolidation that's been happening. And that really started happening quite a bit in about the 70s and 80s. And then we started seeing the big box stores coming into some of the smaller towns, the towns that were about 10,000 or 15,000. We started seeing big box stores come into Minnesota in those communities. Kind of what that did is it stopped as much of that migration from the rural counties into the big regional centers and kind of put them into the smaller localized centers, like the Marshall and the Brainards and Little Falls and places like that. It kept them coming to towns like that rather than, let's say, continuing on to St. Cloud. So it's been those types of things that have really been the change. I think when we take a look at over the years, the big centers really grew, but rural Minnesota really hasn't dropped as much as what some people might think. All in all, when we look back in 1990, I think 37% of the sales, retail sales that happened in Minnesota, happened in rural Minnesota. When we take a look at 2009, 37% of the retail sales happened in rural Minnesota.
Really? It hasn't changed.
The basis hasn't changed that much. And when a big box store comes to town, it doesn't mean the death of a city. I think it changes the way people operate. We see, let's say, as Ben mentioned, when you go to town, you eat out. You see the places that restaurants really increase in sales. But you also, surprisingly, you see an increase in the clothing stores. And that was a result that I really wasn't anticipating, is that clothing store sales picked up when a big box store came to town. That isn't where they bought most of their things. They basically yes, they bought some clothing at the big box stores, but they also supported other types of clothing stores in the community, and it made them more available for them to use. Yeah, the retail stores need to compete differently than what they did in the past. They need to take a look at different markets, different marketing techniques, but yeah, they still can have some success.